Now, Trump's campaign, by contrast, remains upbeat. The Republican National Convention has closed with Trump formally accepting his party's nomination and calling for unity. In his first speech since surviving an assassination attempt, the former president told the Republicans that he was saved by the grace of God. He also talked about his campaign goals, but he gave few details about how he would achieve them.
I'm here tonight to lay out a vision for the whole nation. To every citizen, whether you're a young or old man or woman, Democrat, Republican or independent, black or white, Asian or Hispanic, I extend to you a hand of loyalty and of friendship. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before.
Well, my next guest is an authority on political language, especially the language of Donald Trump. In her book, Demagogue for President, The Rhetorical Genius of Donald Trump, Jennifer Mercieca dissects Trump's political language. She dissected it during the first campaign run for the White House back in 2016. She is also a professor of communication and journalism at Texas A&M University. Professor, it's good to have you with us. You know, I can imagine when you look at the past week in Milwaukee and compare that with what you saw 4 years ago and 8 years ago, I mean, a lot of this must have been deja vu to you. I mean, what has changed about Trump's political speech, if anything?
It was very familiar, actually. I think that he had less energy this year. I think that he was trying to convey that he has changed. And so it sort of was in the performance of the script, which he, of course, rambled on quite a bit and didn't follow his script. But I think it was a little bit in the tone of voice more than it was in the content or the tone itself. Everyone was expecting for him to make overtures and to say, that we ought to unite as a country. He said those words, but I actually didn't hear him making appeals to unification. Instead, he was saying essentially that the Democratic Party ought to capitulate to him.
The GOP put on a huge show this week. Trump's name, as we just saw, in big lights. And you use the word performative. I'm wondering, is political speech in the age of Trump, is it simply performative speech?
It is performative. There is sort of the job of politics, attending the meetings and making the decisions. And then there is the performance of the presidency on the American political stage and America's political theater. And Donald Trump has always excelled at the performative element of it, at least with his base. He's able to connect with them in a way that, they really enjoy listening to him. They feel as though he's this famous businessman, who is defeating their enemies for them, which is what he tells them repeatedly. And, they really enjoy his showmanship. Of course, his detractors don't see him in such a positive light.
Well, where does all of this then leave substance? I mean, politics is supposed to be about policy and not just personality, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Politics ought to be about compromise and about problem solving. But the way that American politics has changed over the last 30 years or so is really about affective polarization, meaning that it's more about how you feel about your opposition than it is about solving political problems. And unfortunately, the more polarized we become, the more polarizing political figures rise to the fore of America's political theater.
And how do you explain what is happening to and around President Biden? I mean, age issues aside, he is a politician who likes to talk policy.
Yeah, he is. And he isn't very good at performing the role of the president for America's political theater. Newspaper subscriptions are down. He doesn't generate a lot of interest or drama. Donald Trump did do those things. He generated a lot of interest and drama. People were very concerned every morning when they woke up. What's Donald Trump done now? And there isn't that interest in Biden. And so that affects the way we understand his presidency. He's had more policy successes than most presidents have.
That's right.
And when political scientists rank American presidents, they rank him 14th, right, out of all of the presidents in America because of his policy successes. But he doesn't seem to perform that role well on TV.
In the syllabus of your presidential communication course, because I was looking at the courses that you teach, you write that there has been a distinct disruption in presidential communication over the past 4 years. Is that disruption, is it now the norm?
Well, we'll see, right? So you probably are very familiar with the term outrage media, right? So there's a whole genre of media that is designed to elicit and evoke outrage in its audience. And so it keeps them attentive. It kind of keeps them on edge, wondering, like, who should we be mad at today? And Donald Trump has capitalized on outrage media. He's the outrage president. And he's very good at outraging his base by saying everything is corrupt and, they're out to get you and everything is terrible. And he's also very good at outraging his opposition by doing things that are atypical and unpresidential, by using ad hominem attacks and threats of force and intimidation, saying things like, I want to be a dictator on day one. All of that means that what he's essentially doing is outraging the left and the right in order to draw more and more attention to himself.
Yep.
And
Professor,
there's no president who's been as good as he is at doing that.
I've got about 30 seconds left, Professor. Your book is being called A Vaccine Against a Virus That Threatens the Survival of Democracy. Wouldn't you say we are a long way away from herd immunity?
We're in danger. Democracy is in danger. There are organizations that study democratic erosion and democratic backsliding. All of the features that they indicate are threats to the stability of democracy are things that are present in the United States at this moment and are worsening. And so, I think every little bit of critical analysis that we can use is helpful, but the problem is big.
Professor Mercieca, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us on this Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.